Grandma. Please introduce yourself to the court.
Good morning. My name is Camille Sowell.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a pediatric psychiatrist. I run my own practice with some other specialists in the area. And we do clinical practice as well as some forensic psychology work like I have in this case. And I've been practicing for the last 14 years.
Dr. Sowell, what's the difference between clinical and forensic psychology?
Clinical practice is exactly what you think it is. The patient lies on an IKEA couch in my office. They tell me their problems. I write them down on a legal pad. But forensic psychology is different. You have to work backwards. Now, typically, I'm called in after a harmful incident has already occurred and asked to figure out how and why.
Is that what happened in today's case?
Yes. My practice was hired after a shooting incident on August 18th in 2010, and I was asked to determine three things. First, whether the shooter in question posed a special danger with regards to firearms. Second, whether signs of those dangers were available prior to the shooting. And third, whether or not those signs should have been apparent to the parent of the shooter in question, Hayden Duran. Now, given that I'm a child psychiatrist and not an expert on parenting, I really only felt comfortable evaluating the first two concerns.
Well, Dr. Sowell, before we get into the conclusions you were able to make, let's talk about your qualifications. Where'd you go to school?
I have my bachelor's in psychology from the University of Oregon, and I got my MD from the University of Michigan Medical School.
And what documents, if any, did you review to make your conclusions in today's case?
I reviewed several witness statements, as well as emails, school records, and even drawings made by the shooter in question, Jesse Duran. Additionally, I reached out to defense counsel to request an interview with Jesse Duran, but was denied permission to speak with her.
Well, Dr. Sowell, is it common in forensic psychology to actually get to speak with your subject?
No, not at all. Oftentimes in forensic psychology cases like this, we aren't able to speak with the individuals that we're trying to assess.
So did you have sufficient facts and data to be able to make your conclusions in this case?
Yes, I did.
Did you use reliable principles and methods generally practiced in forensic psychology?
I did.
What were those methods?
Well, there are two main methods of evaluating a child's interest or fascination, as outlined by the National Pediatric Psychiatry Board. And I used both methods to paint myself a clearer picture, given that I wasn't able to speak with Jesse. The first method is evaluating Jesse Duran's own obsession or abnormal fascination with the firearm. And the second method is utilizing other people's perceptions of Jesse's fascination and analyzing how that developed.
Dr. Sowell, did you apply those methods reliably to Jesse Duran's case?
Yes, I did.
Well, Dr. Sowell, you were asked to assess two things, so let's start with the first one. What were you able to conclude about Jesse Duran's fascination with firearms?
I came to the conclusion that Jesse Duran had an abnormal fascination with firearms, which basically just means that Jesse sought out increasingly realistic guns and gun violence. In the course of my investigation, I actually found a cartoon that Jesse Duran drew that led me to this conclusion.
Would you recognize a copy of that cartoon if I showed it to you in court today?
Yes, I believe I would.
Let the record reflect that I'm approaching opposing counsel with plaintiffs 3.
No objection to the authenticity of this document, Your Honor.
And let the record reflect I'm approaching the witness with the same. Would Your Honor like a courtesy comment?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Dr. Sowell, what have I just handed you?
This is the cartoon that I was talking about, that Jesse Duran drew.
Is it a fair and accurate copy of the cartoon that you looked at in the course of your investigation?
Yes, it appears to be.
Now, Dr. Sowell, can you please tell us how this cartoon showed Jesse's fascination with firearms?
Sure. The increasing level of violence throughout this cartoon particularly concerned me. And when I taught psychology over at Midland State, I taught my students the phrase,
Objection, Your Honor. This document is not in evidence yet.
What was the testimony?
I simply asked her what in this document she used in her conclusions. She hasn't actually shown the document to the jury yet.
Okay, so are you objecting to the admission of the exhibit then?
Your Honor, she's testifying to the contents of this document without first entering it into evidence.
Well, okay, let's do this. I assume she's
I will be
entering
entering
into
into evidence.
Okay, do you have, let's deal with that now before we Well, I mean, the document itself could be hearsay, the statements in it could be hearsay.
Your Honor, statements in the document are hearsay. They're being used to prove the truth of the matter asserted.
Okay, your
Response, Your Honor. This document was authored by Jesse Duran, and counsel said that he had no objections to the authenticity of this document. Now, because this is a civil case of negligent parental supervision, any statements made by the defendant's child are attributed to the defendant in this case. Therefore, Jesse Duran's statements are attributed to Hayden Duran for purposes of admission, and therefore pursuant to Rule 801(d)(2, these are statements by a party opponent and are not hearsay.
May I respond?
You may.
Your Honor, Jesse Duran is not our party opponent in today's case. Hayden Duran is, meaning that 801(d)(2 does not apply in this case.
Well,
I can respond to that, Your Honor.
okay, I'll let you respond.
If I can direct your attention to the Midland Civil Code, I believe you have it in front of you. It's on page 2. It's section 10, subsection 56.
Okay, let us pull it up, yeah, because I did want to ask if you had any authority for your attention. Sorry, where is that again?
It's on page 2. It's the last section, 1056.
Okay,
And it says that when a parent or legal guardian is sued based on the actions or omissions of a minor child over whom the parent or legal guardian has lawful custody, statements said by a minor child shall be imputed to the parent or legal guardian as party opponent's statements for hearsay purposes.
okay, I'll let you briefly respond to that.
Your Honor, this is an out-of-court statement being used to prove the truth of the matter asserted. And as I said previously, Jesse Duran is not their party opponent.
Well, okay, based on section 10.56, I'm going to rule the objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
You can proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Dr. Solo, can you please continue telling us how this document showed Jesse's fascination with firearms?
Sure. The increasing level of violence within this cartoon particularly concerned me. And when I taught psychology up at Midland State, I taught my students the phrase progression, aggression, expression to help them remember the signs of increasing violence in a child's behavior. And the cartoon that Jesse Duran drew actually exhibits those signs in that exact order.
Well, let's start with the first stage you said, progression. How did you find that this document showed progression?
Well, the first panel of the drawing indicates a stick figure simply claiming ownership of the gun, and this is seemingly harmless. The second panel of the drawing indicates the stick figure pointing the gun at an object, and the third panel of the drawing indicates the stick figure shooting the gun at objects. This progression is what most psychiatrists would deem as concerning.
And how about the second stage, aggression?
Well, the fourth panel of the drawing shows the stick figure hunting in the woods, and the fifth panel shows the stick figure using the gun against other children.
Objection to substantially more prejudicial than probative.
Overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
Please continue.
Now, given that the stick figure is both hunting and using the gun against other children, this highlights the aggression behind the gun itself and the effects of the gun.
Well, Dr. Solo, what about the last stage, expression?
Well, this was the most unsettling panel of the drawing for me. In the last panel, the character expresses their admiration for the gun by saying, "I heart or I love my gun." This claim of admiration for the gun indicates an admiration for not just the gun itself, but for the effects that it has on other people as well.
Thank you, Dr. Solo. Now, in the course of your investigation, did you find anything else that helped you make your conclusions?
Actually, yes, I did. I also looked at an email that Hayden Duran sent to a friend in which Hayden talked about Jesse's fascination with guns and violence.
Would you recognize a copy of that email if I showed it to you?
Yes, I would.
Let the record reflect I'm approaching opposing counsel, plaintiff's court.
No objection to the authenticity of this document, Your Honor.
Let the record reflect I'm approaching the witness with the same, and would Your Honor again like a
Yes,
courtesy
thank
copy?
you.
Dr. Solo, what have I just handed you?
This is the email that Hayden Duran sent to her friend Casey.
Is an accurate copy of the email that you looked at in the course of your investigation?
Yes, I believe so.
Your Honor, at this time, the plaintiff offers plaintiff's foreign to evidence.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor, to substantially more prejudicial than probative.
Okay, let me take a look at it.
document, Hayden Duran expresses concerns over her daughter, but does not directly reflect on her actual parenting of Jesse, meaning that this is being used to unnecessarily bias the jury, and it is substantially more prejudicial than probative.
Yeah, but isn't part of what they have to prove that, that your client had some knowledge of the child's, propensity for, I guess, for obsession with guns? I mean, isn't that a part, doesn't it go to what they have to prove?
No, Your Honor, this is only going to show Hayden Duran's concerns, but not how she reacted to those concerns, not how she actually parented, meaning that in a negligent parental supervision case, this is more prejudicial than probative.
Response?
Your Honor, this does go directly to our claim of negligent parental supervision. We have to show that Hayden Duran had knowledge of Jesse's fascination with firearms and that Hayden Duran didn't respond appropriately to those fascinations. This is exactly what that document is going to show.
Yeah, it's just such a high standard of proof. It's more prejudicial than probative, so I'm gonna allow it.
Yes, Your Honor.
So overruled.
So it has been admitted into evidence, Your Honor?
Yes.
Now, Dr. Solo, what in this email led you to conclude again that Jesse had an abnormal fascination with guns?
In the email, Hayden states that she often caught Jesse and Sydney shooting at one another with the video game guns instead of at the, quote, bad guys in the video games themselves. Additionally, and this is a direct quote from the email, Hayden states that Jesse only wants to play games that seem to involve shooting hundreds of people. The email also indicates that Jesse said things to other children like, bang, you're dead.
Thank you, Dr. Solo. Now, moving on to the second thing you were asked to assess, it was whether or not these signs were apparent prior to August 18th. What were you able to conclude?
I was able to conclude that those signs were available prior to the shooting.
How so?
Well, the cartoon that I reviewed, the email that I reviewed, and the Parks babysitter's affidavit that I used in my investigation, all of these documents were made available before the shooting. For instance, the cartoon was drawn in early 2010, far in advance of Sydney Park's death. The email that Hayden Duran wrote to her friend was sent on July 1st, over a month and a half before the incident took place. And the Parks babysitter indicates in her affidavit that Jesse Duran frequently spoke about guns in early summer of 2010.
Dr. Solo, do you still have that cartoon that I gave you, the Me and My Gun cartoon in front of you?
I do, yes.
Well, without making any conclusions and relying only on what you know, did Hayden Duran know about that cartoon?
Yes, Hayden Duran found this cartoon in Jesse's room in June of 2010, I believe.
At this time, we constructively published Plaintiff's 3 to the jury. Now, Dr. Solo, do you also have the email that Hayden Duran wrote in front of you?
I do.
Well, without making any conclusions, was Hayden Duran aware of that email?
I would assume so. Hayden Duran wrote the email.
At this time, we constructively published Plaintiff's 4 to the jury. Now, Dr. Solo, again, without making any conclusions and relying only on what you know about Hayden Duran, did you find anything else that suggested Hayden Duran's knowledge of Jesse's fascination with guns?
Actually, yes. The night before the shooting, August 17th, Jesse and Hayden had a one-on-one conversation in which Jesse told Hayden that she wanted to see the Parks gun and that she wanted to hold it. That the guns in video games were fake and that Jesse wanted to experience a real gun.
Thank you, Dr. Solo. At this time, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Dylan Ball, back to the defense. May I inquire?
You may.
You were hired to assess Jesse Duran, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
You tested